3 weeks before our wedding, my fiancée whispered, "I cheated during our break." Then she added, "My sister was going to tell you." "What do you mean, cheated?" Her hands tightened in her lap. "During the break." "What happened?" She swallowed. "I met someone." "How?" She hesitated. "On a dating app." Something cold settled in my stomach. "A dating app?" She nodded. "We talked. Then we met. And?" Her eyes filled. "We slept together." I stared at her. Then one word registered. "You said cheated?" She closed her eyes. "It happened twice." Outside the car, people walked in and out of the bakery carrying coffee and pastry boxes. Everything looked normal. Inside that car, the relationship I thought I understood suddenly didn't exist in the same way anymore. Samantha and I had been together almost 3 years, but we had known each other longer. We started as friends in the same social circle. There was no dramatic moment when everything changed. She just slowly became the person I called first. Good news. Bad news. Anything strange, funny, frustrating, or important. Eventually, being together felt less like starting a relationship and more like admitting we had already built one. We had our differences. When something went wrong, I needed time to think. Samantha wanted to talk until everything felt resolved. Usually, we managed to meet somewhere in the middle. Then December came. She became restless. One night, she told me she felt like she didn't know who she was outside our relationship. Every future decision seemed connected to us. Marriage. Family. Where our lives were heading. She said she loved me, but she was scared she had stopped thinking of herself as an individual. Then she asked for a break. "I don't believe in breaks," I told her. "I'm not asking because I want someone else." "Then why do we need one?" "I need room to think without feeling like every thought affects both of us." I didn't fully understand it. But I wanted to support her. So we set boundaries. "Clearly?" I asked. "Are we dating other people?" "No." "Talking to anyone romantically?" "No." "Dating apps?" "No." "Sleeping with anyone?" She looked almost offended. "No, Reed." "So we're still exclusive?" "Yes." That was the agreement. Space. Not freedom to see other people. The break lasted less than 2 weeks. A few days before Christmas, Samantha called me late at night. She was crying. She asked to see me. When she arrived, she wrapped her arms around me before I could say anything. "I made a mistake." I thought she meant the break. She told me being apart had made her realize she didn't want distance from me. She wanted our life. She wanted us. We talked for hours. She seemed more certain than she had in months. I was relieved. Afterward, things genuinely seemed better. Our communication improved. She talked more openly about her fears. I thought the break had forced us to confront something difficult and come out stronger. By New Year's, I proposed. I had been thinking about marriage long before December. When I asked her, she started crying before I finished. She said yes immediately. Later that night, she kept looking at the ring. "I don't want a long engagement." I laughed. "We've been engaged for a few hours." "I'm serious." "What's the rush?" She smiled through tears. "I've wasted enough time being confused." At the time, I thought that was romantic. Sitting in the bakery parking lot months later, it sounded completely different. I looked at her. "When exactly did this happen?" She gave me the timeline. A few days after the break began, she downloaded the app. She matched with a man. They talked. They met. They slept together. Several days later, they met again. Then she ended contact. Soon after that, she came back to me. The night she showed up crying and said the break was a mistake? That was after him. The conversation where she told me she finally knew what she wanted. After him. Christmas. Our reconciliation. My proposal. All of it happened while she knew something that could have changed every decision I made. "You told me that break was about finding yourself." "I know." "You specifically told me there would be nobody else." "I know." "Stop saying that." She flinched. "If you knew, then you knew while you were doing it." She covered her face. "I don't have an excuse." "Then why?" "I don't know how to explain it." "Try." She took a shaky breath. "I was angry. At myself. At everything." I felt trapped by my own thoughts. "So you downloaded a dating app." I wasn't thinking clearly. "That doesn't make it accidental." She looked down. "No. There was another layer to this that made it even harder to understand. Samantha and I had never slept together. Early in our relationship, she told me physical intimacy was complicated for her because of experiences she had before we met. She didn't tell me everything. I never pushed. At first, she wanted to practice celibacy while we built trust. Later, she decided she wanted to wait until marriage. She said it made her feel safe. That she wanted what we had to be built without pressure. I respected that. I never treated intimacy like something she owed me. Waiting mattered to her, so I treated it as something worth protecting. That was why her confession hit another nerve. Why was that boundary important with me but not with him? Her face crumpled. It wasn't because I wanted him more. That isn't what I asked. She went quiet. I respected that boundary for years because you told me it meant something to you. Then during a break that lasted less than 2 weeks, you abandoned it with someone you barely knew. I don't completely understand why I did it. That's not enough. I know. This time, I didn't stop her. Because she was right. It wasn't enough. Then I remembered the second thing she had said when she confessed. Her sister. What did you mean when you said Fiona was going to tell me? Samantha froze. Does she know? Yes. How long? About a month. I stared at her. A month? She nodded. You told your sister a month ago, but not me? I wanted to tell you. You wanted to. But you didn't. She started crying again. What did Fiona say? She told me I had to tell you. And? I said I would. But you kept waiting. Yes. Why? Because the closer we got to the wedding, the more terrified I became. I looked toward the bakery. We had just finalized the cake. Invitations had been sent. People had made plans. She had been discussing flowers, seating arrangements, and vows while carrying this secret. So why tell me today? She hesitated. Fiona told me last night that if I didn't tell you before the wedding, she would. That landed almost as hard as the cheating. Until then, part of me had believed Samantha finally confessed because the guilt had become unbearable. Now I didn't know whether she had chosen honesty at all. If Fiona hadn't said that, would you have told me? Samantha looked at me. I waited. Finally, she whispered, I don't know. That answer emptied something out of me. Not because it was cruel. Because it was honest. She could have lied and said yes. Instead, she admitted there was a real possibility I would have married her without knowing. I pictured the wedding. Me standing there. Fiona somewhere in the room. Samantha walking toward me. 2 people knowing something that might have changed whether I was standing there at all. I opened the car door. Samantha panicked. Where are you going? I need to leave. Please don't. I need space. She reached for my arm. I pulled away. Reed, please. I can't do this right now. We need to talk. You need to talk. I need to think. Please don't disappear. I looked at her. You asked me for space once, and I gave it to you. Give me the same thing. I left and called Gavin. He picked me up 20 minutes later. I told him I needed somewhere to stay. He didn't push. At his place, he asked one question. Are you okay enough to be alone tonight? I nodded. Then talk whenever you're ready. I barely slept. My phone kept lighting up. I'm sorry. Please talk to me. I love you. I'll do anything. We can fix this. Please don't make a decision tonight. Eventually, I turned the phone face down. The next morning, there were more messages. Longer ones. Apologies. Promises. She offered passwords. Counseling. Anything she thought might prove she had nothing else to hide. I sent one response. I asked for space. Please respect that. She replied. Okay. Then one final message. I love you. I didn't answer. For the next 2 days, she mostly left me alone. Without the constant messages, I finally had room to think. The timeline kept bothering me more than anything. The betrayal happened during the break. But the deception continued afterward. She came back to me knowing what she had done. She let me believe we had honored the same agreement. Then she accepted my proposal. That made every happy memory afterward feel attached to information I should have had. 2 days later, I agreed to meet Samantha at a quiet coffee shop. She was already there. She looked exhausted. Her engagement ring was still on. I sat across from her. She instinctively moved her hand toward mine, then stopped. Sorry. It was the first small sign that she was actually listening when I asked for distance. I have questions. I'll answer anything. I don't want graphic details. Okay. I just want the truth. She nodded. We went through the timeline again. She downloaded the app intentionally. No one pressured her. She wasn't drunk. She liked the attention. She liked being around someone who knew nothing about her life. They met. Then they met again. Afterward, she ended it because the experience made her realize she didn't want anyone else. I asked, why twice? She stared at the table. I don't have a good answer. Then give me the real one. She took a breath. After the first time, I already felt like I had ruined everything, even though you didn't know. Instead of stopping, I think I convinced myself the break meant I could do whatever I wanted. But you knew that wasn't our agreement. Yes. So you changed the rules privately. Yes. The answer hurt. But at least it was clear. Then I asked, when you came back before Christmas, were you planning to tell me? I didn't know what I was going to do. But you knew enough to let me believe nothing happened. She looked down. Yes. And then I proposed. She nodded. If you had told me before New Year's, do you think I still would have proposed? She cried quietly. No. So you let me make one of the biggest decisions of my life without information you knew could change it. I was terrified I would lose you. That decision wasn't yours to make. She wiped her face. I know. I let the silence sit. The cheating was one betrayal. Hiding it while we reconciled and planned a wedding was another. That distinction mattered to me. Samantha leaned forward. I kept thinking if I could get us back to normal, what I did could stay behind us. Behind you. She stopped. What? You knew about it. I didn't. You were deciding for both of us that it was in the past. Her face fell. She didn't argue. Then I asked about Fiona. Samantha said she finally confessed to her sister because the guilt became harder to manage as the wedding approached. Fiona immediately told her I deserved to know. Samantha promised she would tell me. Days passed. Then weeks. Every time Fiona asked, Samantha said she was waiting for the right moment. Finally, Fiona told her. You tell Reed before that wedding or I will. That was the ultimatum. Not revenge. A deadline for the truth. I asked again. If Fiona hadn't done that, what would have happened? I honestly don't know. I appreciated that she didn't lie. I hated what the answer meant. Then she asked, Are you leaving me? I don't know. Her face crumpled. Please don't give up on us. I don't even know what us means right now. We're still us. No. She stared at me. I softened my voice. We might become something again. But we are not what I thought we were before you told me. She covered her mouth. Then I said what I had already decided. The wedding has to be postponed. Reed. It has to. Please don't decide that yet. It's 3 weeks away. We can work through this. In 3 weeks? She couldn't answer. I'm supposed to stand in front of everyone and promise I trust you while I'm still wondering whether you would have told me at all. She looked down. I'm scared postponing it will destroy us. So am I. What if we never recover? I looked at her. What if we get married before we know whether we can? That ended the argument. We postponed the wedding. Not cancelled. Postponed. I wasn't ready to say it was over. Samantha wasn't ready to imagine that possibility. We told our families there were serious personal issues we needed to resolve. Most people respected that. The ordinary wedding tasks became strangely painful. Canceling appointments. Calling vendors. Removing reminders from my calendar. I went back later to collect some clothes and saw the bakery box still sitting in Samantha's refrigerator. The cupcakes were stale. Neither of us mentioned them. A few days later, Fiona called me. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. I'm sorry, she said. For what? For knowing and not telling you sooner. How long exactly? Just over a month. That's what Samantha said. She promised she was going to tell you. And you believed her. At first. Why wait? Because she's my sister. There was no clever defense in her voice. Just guilt. I wanted to believe she would do the right thing without me forcing her. What changed? The wedding got close enough that I realized she might actually go through with it. I closed my eyes. You thought she might marry me without telling me? Yes. That was harder to hear from someone else. I'm sorry, Reed. I took a breath. Thank you for making sure I knew. You don't have to thank me. Maybe not. But I needed the truth before I stood there and made vows. After that, Samantha and I started counseling. Not because I had forgiven her. I made that clear. Counseling wasn't a promise that we would stay together. It was a place to figure out whether anything could still be rebuilt. The first sessions were difficult. I wanted explanations. Samantha had emotions in fragments. She kept coming back to the idea that during the break, she wanted to feel like she belonged only to herself. One day I asked, why did independence have to mean breaking boundaries you chose? She stared at the floor. I think part of me wanted to prove I could break every rule I had made for myself. That included us. Yes. Did it make you feel free? She shook her head. No. Then what did it do? For a long time, she said nothing. Finally, she whispered. It proved I could hurt something important just because I was scared of how much it mattered. That was the first explanation that felt honest enough to reach me. It didn't excuse anything. But it also didn't sound like she was trying to escape responsibility. That complicated everything. Samantha wasn't suddenly a stranger. She was still the person who knew me better than almost anyone. She had still shown up for me during difficult moments. Our friendship had been real. So had our relationship. And so was the betrayal. As the date of our cancelled wedding approached, Samantha became better at respecting my boundaries. She stopped flooding me with messages. She stopped trying to convince me every day that we could survive. She answered questions when I had them. She continued counseling. She wore her engagement ring. I didn't wear mine. Neither of us talked about that. A week before the wedding date, Samantha asked if I wanted to spend that day together. I said no. She looked hurt. Then she nodded. Okay. No pleading. No argument. On the morning I was supposed to get married, I woke before sunrise at Gavin's place. For a few seconds, I forgot what day it was. Then I remembered. I spent most of the morning driving without anywhere particular to go. Eventually, I parked near a quiet stretch of water. People walked dogs. A kid learned to ride a bicycle. Someone jogged past with headphones. The world looked completely ordinary. I thought about what I should have been doing. Getting dressed. Trying not to look nervous. Gavin making some stupid joke to calm me down. Family arriving. Music starting. Samantha walking toward me. Then I imagined what would have happened if she had never confessed. Me standing there smiling. Fiona sitting somewhere among the guests. Samantha looking into my eyes. And me making promises without knowing something that might have changed whether I made them at all. That was the part one couldn't get past. Not just what Samantha did during the break, but how close I might have come to marrying her without knowing. That evening, she sent one message. I'm sorry for what today became. I won't ask you for anything. I just hope you're okay. I stared at it for a while. Then I replied. I'm not. But I will be. She didn't respond. And for once, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt honest. We're still in counseling. We're not planning another wedding. We're not officially back together. We also haven't completely walked away. I used to think betrayal made decisions simple. Someone crosses a line, you leave. Someone lies, you stop trusting them. Then it happened to me. I still love Samantha. That part is real. But love isn't the decision I'm struggling with anymore. Sometimes I look at her and still see the woman I thought I was going to marry. Other times I remember that she came back from that break, looked me in the eyes, and let me believe we had both kept our promise. I don't know whether trust can be rebuilt from that. Maybe one day I'll decide the worst thing she ever did shouldn't define everything we were. Or maybe I'll realize that forgiving someone doesn't always mean building a life with them again. For now, the ring stays off. And the wedding stays postponed. Because I would rather lose the future I plan than stand at an altar pretending I'm certain when I'm not.